on about that. Yeah.
I think
meeting of the 24th of July 2025. Start with a karakia. Please feel free to join in. Whakatakati hau ki te uru, whakatakati hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai, e he aki ana te atakura, e tio, e hoka, e huho, te he moriora. Any apologies from today's meeting? We need to be aware of. There are not. Declarations of interest? None. Urgent business? Depends on this phone call.
it's not a phone call, sorry, it's my diabetic alarm. I can't turn it off.
No urgent business that I'm aware of. And nobody in the public forum. We acknowledge Pam and Grace from Deloitte, who are waiting in the wings, and they're going to join the meeting during the chair's report on the item to do with the audit and risk. So we go to the minutes and acknowledge you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for chairing in my absence last meeting. The minutes are on page 10 of the agenda, and we'll just do a page turn, making sure everything in there is as was stated. Top of page 11, there's a couple of rogue lines in there that we'll just tidy up before we sign the minutes. Anything on page 10 or page 11? Page 12, page 13, 14 and 15. And I'm assuming that those items highlighted for attention at the last meeting are on today's agenda. Page 16 and 17, and pages 18 and 19.
Happy to move.
Moved by the Mayor. Sorry, which one?
Right.
Yeah.
So Mayor and Councillor Bruce. Seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Page 20, my report, and this is a wee bit up on tiptoes, looking over the fence into the future. Number of items on this report. The agenda content, I just acknowledge that there are some of our stock standard reports are not on the agenda at the moment. I've discussed this with staff. I'm satisfied that there are no significant variances that have not been reported. I do acknowledge the significant work that's being put into the installation of Datascape at the moment and the commitment that that's taken. So whilst not ideal that the reports aren't there, I do fully understand the reasons for that. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Pam and Grace from Deloitte. Pam's our audit director, newly appointed audit director for the 25 audit. and just ask them if they can give an outline of the audit work that they're going to be undertaking, the areas of focus. We know that the field work commences on the 25th of August, and both our audit team and staff are committed to adopting on the 9th of October. So it's got a significant amount of work required to get us to that point, but everybody's brimming with confidence at this stage. So Pam, I will welcome and I'll hand the floor to you.
Thank you very much. Just checking everyone can hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Pam.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for the time this morning. I know the audit plan, our audit plan was tabled in a previous meeting, and unfortunately Grace and I weren't able to make it. So again, thank you for allowing us the time to come in, introduce ourselves this morning and run quickly through the plan that we've put forward. I don't know whether you have the plan in front of you, but I'll just touch on a couple of points. So if we look to the audit process this year, the areas of focus that we'll be looking to get comfort over are largely the same as those that were identified in previous years. And they mainly relate to rates, revenue, management overrider controls, the valuation of property, plant and equipment, statement of service performance, and various matters we're required to cover off with regards to the Office of the Auditor General. So our audit approach is largely the same as what we expect to undertake this year, but we will be covering off a couple of points or matters that were identified as part of last year's audit, and those mainly focused around the statement of service performance, particularly the water measures. I understand there was a qualification that was raised previously due to the handover to a service provider. So Grace and I and the team will look to get comfort over what processes and controls are in place this year for those water measures. And then I also understand another area that cropped up last year was development properties, and just making sure that they carried correctly in your statement of financial position. And when I say carried correctly, either the lower of the carrying amount or net realisable value. So again, we'll try to cover those items off specifically. One of the areas that we do try preempt as early as possible is the valuations. So Grace and the team have been working with management around what that looks like this year in terms of whether those movements are expected to be material or not. Based on the conversations we've had to date and the information we've been provided, it's likely those valuations are not going to be material, and therefore the process has been followed as a desktop review, which we think is reasonable in light of those movements. Just in terms of overall timing, we know that the aim is for us to complete the audit slightly earlier this year than what it was in previous years, in light of everything that's gone on or is going to happen towards the back end of this year. So as mentioned before, we're aiming to start the final audit on the 25th of August with an aim of completing well before the deadline of the 9th of October, which I think is the tabled signing date. The team has already come down to Clusa to perform the planning procedures. All those procedures have been completed and they've been done. So we are really looking forward to hitting the ground running when we start our final audit at the back end of August. I'm just mindful that I've just snuck in to this meeting and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm happy to answer any questions or dive a little bit deeper into any of the areas of focus that we have.
Pam, thank you for that, and we look forward to the audit commencing on the 25th of August. One of the things we will do, and this comments for the benefit of members of the committee, is we will have an auditor-only time prior to the 9th or on the 9th, but certainly prior to signing the audit report. Are there any questions as to process or other significant matters that we've got? Mayor Brian?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, team, for coming and joining today. Mine is trying to work out how you fit in to the changes in legislation, and there's so many of them, but one that's on my mind obviously at the moment is rate cap. Considering that we are right up to our debt ceiling in 27 and in 31, if they were to put a rate cap on now, do do you do sort of like a retrospective, because we passed it and then we're not going to pass it in the 10-year plan past your scrutiny, but would it pass it with a rate cap? How does the legislation that's coming in that will impact our 10-year plan meet your audit requirements, and are you going to have to put some measures in place for councils? Because I don't even know what the rate cap is, but if a rate cap gets in place, it's got to affect our debt limits, and our debt limits are tight. Where do you fit into that picture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, as you mentioned, we've done the 10Y PP, so we've gone through the 10-year plan, and that process is, you know, is kind of, lack of a better word, history or kind of behind us. So we'll work towards making sure that those aspects have or will be complied with. The only time we'd amend our audit approach is if it's a mandated legislative requirement for there to be a change. Currently, there hasn't been. So my understanding is that we go with the status quo until we're told otherwise. And, you know, there's been no information shared with us internally as a firm or through the OAG. So largely expecting that process for at least this year to remain unchanged.
I guess, Pam, it's one of those things we do speculate as to the future, but the flip side of the debt is the CCO starting up will strip a lot of debt off our balance sheet, and that will significantly alter the ceiling that we have available.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions of Pam or Grace? No? If not, thank you both very much for attending this morning. Look forward to working with you over the next few weeks and seeing you again before we sign off on the scheduled date of the 9th of October. Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you. Bye.
So back to the other two items on my report on pages 20 and 21. And as I say, these are to a degree looking into the future. Quite timely just to remind ourselves that this is the first meeting in the new financial year. So it's around our thought process, particularly around how we want matters that are being undertaken, either capital projects or significant operational ones, reported, and what are the key aspects of that, and also our risk appetite. How has that changed, and will it continue to change? And Mayor Bryant's talked about pending legislation, which we'll talk about in detail in the next item on the agenda, but that is quite significant as well. The other thing also is what is important for us as a council and for our community, particularly again with potential changes to legislation. We already know through what we're doing through the water services delivery and going forward into the future. And those things that we need to consider post-election in terms of where our focus is going to be. So happy to answer any questions, but as I say, it's more a future thinking piece at the moment.
Just on that note, with Minister Bishop's announcement last week around the plan, suspension to plans, consent. I don't RMA. I don't actually understand the nitty gritty of the detail, but I was thinking last night, if we've in effect suspended people paying us, so we don't have the revenue, but we've still got the overheads, have we looked at how that's, what it's going to cost the council? Because the teams all, you know, everything stays the same through there, but we're not getting the money coming in from people paying for consents.
Yeah.
Have we looked at how that's going to affect things?
Well, sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, no, the consents are still getting issued under the existing district plan until or unless district plans change. What they have said was that you shouldn't be proceeding with the district plan reviews that a number of councils are doing, and we are doing. And you'll get a briefing from that from Olivia, because we've done some further work and talked to experts around that space, and you'll find that we should still be doing some work in the review space, and there's some funding for that. And we're certainly still doing our consenting job, and no one knows yet what consenting will look like under a regional plan arrangement and things like that, but there'll be some form of consent required. And that's still well for the future, and doesn't change anything about this financial year at all.
And it is a rather complex thing to make changes to the RMA. I mean, let's remind ourselves this legislation has been in place since 1991. It's long overdue, but the complexities are such that bringing it up to date are not that easy. We also remind ourselves that rules are in place for a reason. And while some people aren't happy with restrictions at the moment, it does afford a great deal of protection to everybody else in the community as well. I will move the recommendation on page 21. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Graham, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. The work plan on page 22, just machinery, identifying a couple of reports that are not on the agenda today for reasons that I stated earlier. Questions? Unlikely. Mover? Councillor Payne, Councillor Ludeman, all in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item 4, somewhat timely given the conversation that we've had briefly at the moment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Risk report.
Yes, we have our Peter Stafford stand-in here.
Yeah, you're welcome to the top table, and we're in your hands.
Thank you. I'd like to take the report as read and invite any questions through the chair.
We expected more than that.
Happy to do it through questions.
I was really pleased to see this report. For me, it's very, very timely because, in my opinion, one of the key sector risks at the moment is the widening gap between central government and local government. And I do often wonder how well our role is understood, particularly those things that we do in our community. We're getting hammered over rates increases, we the sector. They're increased for a reason. And I think if we need to do one thing better, we the sector, it's identify the componentry behind those increases. We're doing a lot in provincial and rural New Zealand that central government used to do, or we're doing it instead of central government. We're told about sticking with infrastructure, our pipes, our roading, etc. But there are a lot of things that local government do in the community. And if we're going to talk about services or strengthening control over costs, minimising cost increase, should I say, we need to really go out to the community and say, yeah, we can get rid of staff. We can do that. But are we going to stop the service, or are we going to employ a consultant? Employ a consultant that's going to cost us more. But who's going to provide the service that those restrictions cost? Because we've just been through yet another annual plan. Very few submissions about don't do things. A lot about do things, do more things. So that is the real key one for me. Questions of Yi or the Chief Executive from anybody?
Yeah, can I just ask further to that? You had your Ian Bryan at the local government NZ conference the other day with the ministers, but they never actually defined, as far as the rates capping and spending, they never actually defined what are other essential services. I've said basics like water, roading, waste. But they've never gone any further as to things like social housing, libraries, swimming pools. There's been no indication of where they fit in, and they may still fit in outside of the rates cap. The rates cap might be on the real sweeteners, things like the Wellington Town Hall, which shouldn't have built. Yeah.
So the rate capping is alive and kicking in Australia, where they have 3 levels of government funding. So they've got national, state, and local. We, of course, too. Those of us who have been around the table for a long period of time, and there are some here, will remember times gone by when central government was a funder, particularly in some of the water and wastewater infrastructure, all those changes. But you absolutely hit the nail on the head in terms of community services. communities want these things. They want swimming pools, they want libraries, they want welfare programs, and we're the ones who are stepping in and providing that.
Yeah, so where do they fit in the Australian scheme of things? I mean, are there a cap on those, on spending on those sort of services? Or is it just your statues or your murals or, I mean, that's the sort of thing that probably rolls people up the most.
I'm not well enough versed in the Australian scheme to answer that, but I do know state government puts a ceiling limit, normally 3%, 3.5%, something like that. And then if you want to go beyond that, you need exemption.
Mr. Chairman, the policy team and ourselves have been doing some homework on that matter. And whilst we don't have information around the capping, what's in capping and what's out capping, other than what political statements have been made, because we haven't seen any draft legislative changes. We have seen legislative changes in respect of the question of what's in core services or the purpose of local government and what's not. And so, we did the work together. You might like to explain that actually there were some very interesting additions to services that are actually in the legislation that isn't talked about, but gives us quite a bit of comfort that a lot of what we're doing isn't going to change in accordance even with the removal of poor wellbeing. So, you might be able to, I don't know if you've got it there or you can remember.
I'm sure. Thank you, Steve. So, as you might be aware, on 14th July, the government introduced the System Improvement Amendment Bill, and that stripped back the parts of the LGA, or proposed to strip back the poor wellbeings. But in defining core services, to your question, Councillor McTamaney, they've actually included in the core services in sub-item 4 things like swimming pools, certain community services, recreational facilities, and that type of activity. Now, this, I will preface, is very much the amendment bill that only deals with what councils should focus on. It doesn't deal with the question of rates cap, which is, I believe, Minister Bishop has said to be introduced by the end of this year. But I think it gives some kind of clarity around what the central government still considers to be the core services of local government.
Yeah, because there's a fair bit of noise here, but I get the impression that a lot of it is about we could get into a bit of trouble if we decided to put a 15-foot statue of a former mayor down the main street. Yeah, it's that sort of spending.
12 foot.
No.
Life size, wide.
So when will we get that?
Sorry.
All the different things that are included in it, when will we get?
So, the bill is currently, the bill has just passed its first reading as of last week.
Yes.
Yep, so we can circulate the draft bill with the relevant provisions in it. When we prepared this paper, it had literally just been announced. So, yeah, but we can circulate the bill if you kind of would like to see the full provisions.
Yes, please.
Mayor Brian?
Yeah, so last week up at Christchurch, and I thought it was Minister Watts, but it might have been Minister Bishop, started, so the background that we got told was that they couldn't hold to their initial, they hadn't really thought of the detail of it. Core services, and then what about if the roof rots out in your hall, or so there's incremental slithers of, and that, and then the rates cap was only on core infrastructure. It's not everything we do, there's only a rates cap on some. The underlying thing that came through strongly was that, like most things, it's just a rhetoric that's getting traction out in the public, and it suits the agenda of kicking the living guts out of all councils. So, rates cap, definitely there's a truck coming around New Zealand promoting it. The public will instantly gravitate towards it, but when you go into the detail, it's devil's in the detail. But roofs on halls and swimming pools, they've already been added in by the ministers, I took.
Certainly there's looming opportunities for collaboration. And I think the success of local water will will be the catalyst for that going forward. If we drop rates, we drop services. And in all the years I've been sitting at the local government council tables around the local government sector in this country, I've never heard anybody come and submit that we should not do a particular service into the future. And we hear what core services are coming out of Wellington. It'd be very interesting to ask our own community what they think core services are, what do they want us to provide. Councillor Nakatamina, you identified a few of those 5 minutes or so ago. It's up to our sector to remind the community what we do. We often let ourselves down by not talking about our role, making that very, very clear. Other questions, Councillor Volweiler?
Just a comment, actually. I think we should also point out where costs are coming from. And later on, we're dealing with insurance. I see government, the fire offence levy is increased by 12%, at least 12%. So there's a cost from government that's come on us as well. So we know the insurance problems last year with insurance increasing by much more than we budgeted for. So I think we have to explain where the cost pressures are coming from. They're coming from outside our sector. But we're not having to meet the costs that we're having.
Councillor Herbert?
I suppose with my question has just been touched on probably to the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor that went to the conference, and it's increasingly frustrating to me and a lot of people in the public that, you know, we are continually getting kicked in the guts by this government. But is there a general awareness out there that the bulk of our charges are compliance issues, and is there any acceptance from the government that they, you know, that Tangata Arawa is a government department that enforce compliance and regulations on us? Every council in this country has got records rates rolled, virtually everyone, records rates rolled, record high debt, and it's all come about in the last 2 or 3 years.
If you listen to the Prime Minister's speech, it was and in a room that would have predominantly been, I believe, National Party members, one person clapped. It's what you would think is normal and what's getting pushed at the moment.
What I'm
It's
saying is
almost
there's
like
hypocrisy
there's a
out there. Well, we have to comply with this, but you can't. But you have to rates cap. You can't spend too much, but you have to comply.
So someone's going down here, John. So it's a blame game, and we're aware of it.
That was what my opening comment was all about, is the cost of legislation. Now, a report 2 meetings back that was prepared by Yi and Peter identified 96 pieces of legislation that we are required to comply with on a daily basis. Every piece of legislation has resourcing costs. We need more staff, we need more systems, we need more this, that and everything else. Put them in place. And again, my plea to the sector would be to start and identify these costs.
Mr. Chairman, just to throw something else in there, not sure if you're aware, but we are now being charged for Tangata Arawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not helping, Steve.
Is it a big levy?
But it is population based.
Mr. Mayor?
I think this report's also a timely opportunity to bring up, in the past, our strategy around the MPs that we target, the MPs we build relationships up with, has been pretty much who I bump into. We've never, as a council, I know that other councils will sit and strategically work out, here's where we're going. A delegation needs to go to Wellington and hit this, and this minister. And we've never had it. It's been ad hoc. It's been, it's fragile at the moment because of that. But with the exit, when the entry comes in, it's definitely an opportunity. There's a clear slate. You know, you say things that you have to as a mayor and you end up building a few walls around you. That's happened. But the new mayor will have an opportunity if we strategically say, hey, we need to go and build up a relationship with Simeon Brown or whatever, rather than just hoping that you're going to bump into them in a pub one day and build a relationship up. I think we need to do it. Other councils have definitely had an edge on us.
Any other comments or questions of staff or the Chief Executive? Councillor McTaggart.
I'll come back to that lobbying thing. That, I don't know, just looking from the outside, the LGNZ seems to be really struggling to get traction with government, but they should be the lobby group on behalf of the councils. I mean, that's how other lobby groups work, Fed Farmers, etc. Some of the big business organisations, they get together, they go into the relationships with the ministers and things. LGNZ just seems to not doing their job.
That's on the wider side, but I know especially with the clean slate in the early years, I happened to just sit up one day when we just bought the industrial park with Grant Robertson. I don't know how many millions that meeting was worth to this council. Millions and millions, just because I happened to go and sit up there and we had a talk. Very unstrategic, not council-wide, based on friendship and relationship. Other councils are way more strategic.
Yeah, but are they getting?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few that will Skype that for every 1,000 they spend, they get 100,000 back type, and they have all these figures. But I'm just saying is that it's an opportunity and we should just pass it by.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, LGNZ is in a difficult position. They have lost a lot of their the strength and advocacy that they used to have. Went through the issue with going too far in one direction, and then as a consequence losing some of the support and the membership, because you have to remember it's a membership organisation. It's only as strong as its membership for advocacy. It's been shedding members as a consequence of the pushback from that. The change in governments probably also made a difference in terms of where this government is versus the previous government. Connection with LGNZ. There's all this misinformation out there about the role of LGNZ and what it does, which is putting pressure on MPs and other things. So LGNZ, as our advocacy entity, is struggling to represent the sector in that sense. And that's what we're facing at the moment. Hopefully it'll move forward and it'll be able to regain that. But if you shed some big councils like Auckland City and things like that, who decide that they, because they're so big that they can just advocate themselves, and therefore politically they're pulled out and aren't supporting LGNZ in that sense politically, they are underneath that through staff support and other things. But just as an advocacy group, LGNZ is in a position where it's struggling around that. Now, we've said it here that we're members of LGNZ. You see every year someone else has decided they're pulling out and think it's money not well spent around that. But for us, as a small council, we need LGNZ to do homework for us on a whole range of matters that otherwise we would have to employ staff to do the work for or consultants for if we wanted to have a particular voice. So our connection with LGNZ is positive in the sense of we can pick and choose when we need to say something specific for ourselves, and we have done with the resources that we have got, but it allows us to still have a say for everything else that's coming through with the massive amount of reforms and legislation and other bits and pieces that we just don't have the technical staff to have viewpoints on. So that's where we get our benefit from it. But even as we speak now, others are considering pulling out for their particular reasons.
Other questions, comments? I guess I've got three key points in summing up. First one is remind the community regularly of those things that we do, not just the obvious things, but the other things. Secondly, start identifying the cost of compliance, not for all legislation that we're doing now, but the new stuff that's coming through. And thirdly, go and reread that report from 2 meetings ago, just to get a reminder of what these pieces of legislation are and what we do. Recommendations are on page number 24. Do we have a mover? Councillor Volwheeler, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All in favour? Against, carried. Thank you, Yi. And thank you, Mr. CEO. Right, Donna. I item number 5 on page 38, the regular projects report. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'll invite the project managers to come up as well, please, so they can talk through the relevant projects. So we'll start with the introductory report that is actually written by Sharon. So I'll take that first pages 38 to 39 as being read, and we can move into the individual project updates if you'd like, unless you have any questions in regards to the summary report.
Not so much a question, but just an acknowledgement of staff on the introduction of Datascape. Huge amounts of work. You've ever been involved in these things? Absolute monsters of things. And every corner you turn, there's something else you'll find. You think you're all set to go live on the 1st of July, and there's other things that will jump out and bite you. But the amount of work that's been done on a very short time by a small group of people is to be applauded. So thank you very much for doing that. Right, John, attachment A, Balmoral Tuapeka Rural Water Scheme. Page 41 is the report.
Chairman. Yep, so I urge you, if you have any questions on that report before you.
So I guess for me, John, the question, or I think it's stating the obvious, we talk about later in the agenda the protozoa report. So would it be fair to assume that when this scheme is fully commissioned and operational, it will actually knock out a few of the non-compliant lines in the report on page late 70s something? So we talk about...
That's probably more from the
I'm
compliance
happy
side
to
of things.
Yeah.
Mr Chair, so that is certainly the intention. We expect to be able to lift the boil water notice on those schemes once it's fully commissioned and tested and flushed.
Yep.
Make sure all the bad stuff's gone.
And that was to commence by the end of July 2025, which is next week. Are we on target for that?
Yes.
Yep, we have started testing the bores.
Yep.
And we are catching up with the contractors to finalize the results. They've already submitted some results for our compliance team. And flushing will commence next week.
Yep. Yeah. How long, John?
We haven't got a set date for how long it will take. Currently trying to put in the contractor, the pipeline contractor. As you can see, there's a contractor who's specific to installing the pipeline. There's also a contractor dealing with the pump stations and the bores and the water treatment plants. We're trying to put together and coordinate this program. So it'll probably take up to end of August.
So we would expect to be signed off theoretically September.
Well, given that there will be no defects along the way, because as you understand, the pipeline has been sitting for at least 12 months.
Yep.
And provided that there will be no defects along the way and everything running smoothly, we're expecting to sign off around September.
Good, because this is a significant project for the council, and certainly to complete it within this term would be brilliant.
Just a couple of technical questions. Are they push pumping water at the moment? Because on the second pump station the other night, I forgot to. I went past and there was water pouring out
The lower Greenfield.
the lower Greenfield one. Yeah.
Upstairs.
Yeah, there was water pouring out one of the pipes. I went, oh, it's about 5 hours too late to ring anyone.
There was an incident reported by the contractor last week.
Yeah.
About the failed gasket.
Yeah.
And that's been looked at.
So they're pushing water through now.
Well, the pump station hasn't been started yet, but there was water in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So, and then the gasket just, failed. Yeah, it's just blown. I think it was due to the contractors providing an incident report stating that probably due to the temperature changes, during this cold weather, and it just snapped. So they're currently replacing that gaskets into a more,
And so are they going to open up all the different taps on the line?
no, this is a flange.
No, after that, when they're cleaning the lines, are they going to open up the various taps that they've put into the pipe?
The air valve.
Yeah, no, not the air valves. They're going to push the water through and then let it go at some stage.
Yeah. So we haven't finalized the methodology because we were looking at some options. If you noticed that in this report, it stated that they'll post pipe alterations to bypass the tanks and then flush everything down to the river. But that option has been ruled out because of the cost implications. And we haven't decided yet, with the team on whether to flush towards the reservoirs and then, pump up to the reservoirs and then flush into farmland.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I've got a, yeah.
So if it's flushed into farmlands, that's coming out from the drainage of the reservoirs.
Yeah.
At those sites.
I'm just getting a wee bit particular. Yeah, I'm just thinking about one paddock. Yeah. And so the fibre, you have got them pinned down to pull that cable, southern trenching to come back in.
Yep, the engineers reps have already advised them, notified them to.
And nobody's, has anyone actually talked to any of the farmers yet?
Any of the farmers, sorry?
Well, they're going to come back through in September and October. And I've never been contacted yet. I know this is happening because I'm coming through about 4 Ks of our place. I know it's happening because I'm reading these reports.
Yep.
But no one has actually been in touch yet.
Yeah, so at the moment we are currently contacting the farmers who will directly be impacted with the flushing at the moment. But as the time comes, then we will contact through the farmers for the cabling work.
Yeah, because it could be quite a sheep farm was all the way up that road in just September or October. It might be the most popular coming through there.
No. I'll make a note of that because I'll probably be the person to contact the farmers.
Yeah. This councillor here might be a wee bit gory too.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. John, are the pumps sufficient to do the job on the booster stations? It's just I heard something the other day.
I believe the pumps were designed to do the job, yes.
You're quite confident that they will.
Well, I can't really, express that, but I believe it was designed and specified to do the job, pumping up to whatever head that's required to pump to. Yeah. And again, these designs were finalized about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Through Mr. Chairman, Councillor, if you've got something like some intel, we're certainly happy to investigate the claim because, you can ask a question of John and he can give you an answer, but if you've got something else that might cause us concern or cause the person giving you concern, well, we want to have a look at that, right? So, if you can give more information afterwards, that would say what is the specific issue that's sort of been raised about it, then we can sort of be a little bit more definitive with doing some investigative work and come back with a response.
Good as gold.
So just remind ourselves of the significance financially but community-wise of this project. So it's a major achievement when this is completed. Any final questions or observations of John?
Well, I'll just probably make the point also, I note the financials and all that. It hasn't finished yet, has it? So it's got to fail all budgets and things like that. But I do believe the issue is that we're into the new financial year with a new system. And I don't think we are reporting financially with any authority on any of these projects at this point because of that changeover. I would just be hesitant to supplement our financials for the same reason we didn't get some of those reports, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
We've just sort of simply got to translate the existing information to the new system and then make sure that it's the right information, and that takes some time to be able to do it. So I'll just make a point around the financial reporting. We're not intending to state that anything is what it is. We need to provide confirmed financial reporting under the new system, and we're expecting to do that the next time.
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point out, I'm not sure we've actually said, but commissioning has officially started. The bores are operating, the levels are coming down. The one thing that is topical that I don't think we've tested before, but I don't think we actually need to because it's coming from the river, it has been topical lately in terms of nitrate levels. But so we might just need John to look back through the testing and see what we have tested for, but you don't normally have nitrate when it's coming from the river. The whole point of the system is it's the water from the river.
Thank you. Right. Thanks, John. Milton Main Street Group. Are you leading that, John?
Yep, thank you as well.
Good morning, everyone. So John will be answering questions about the pipeline renewal in Milton, and I will be answering questions on the Milton Streetscape project.
So does anybody have any questions or observations at this stage? Councillor Herbert?
Just a quick one. So just remind me, the old pipe will be removed, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
So part of, right, so it could stay there.
It could stay there. That's the intent, is to leave it there. As soon as we start removing it, then we'll come on.
Will that not cause further slumping in the road in the future if it deteriorates?
Well, we have to grout it. There's an approach to grout it and fill it with grout, so it won't collapse.
Yeah, thank you.
On page 47, there's a comment that says staff have identified up to 2 million that can be made available from other projects that can be deferred for this newly discovered urgent job. Have we notified the community that there are certain things in the plan that we've just adopted that we're now not doing? Planning not to do?
Through you, Chair, so it was during the annual plan discussions that those decisions were made.
Thank you.
And timeline, please, when it's going to actually start.
So as noted in this report, that at end of April, July this month, we will receive the detailed design set of documents. So we received those. So it's currently under review. And once we finalize all the documents, and I believe we can upload for tender mid-August or 3 weeks in August. Yeah, subject to how we come up with the review, and if there's any corrections that needs to be or updating that needs to be applied to documents.
So it'll be one lane at a time, letting traffic through.
Yes, so the final conceptual option now is to move both mains towards the eastern side, which is on parking lane. Yeah, so we'll probably close one lane, but then there's also a parking lane on the west side, which we can use for both lanes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And plan to be completed the week before Christmas, John. Comfortable with that still?
Yeah, well, yeah, if all comes well, then we'll probably be able to squeeze that in before Christmas.
As much as you can, Mr. Chairman, if you're in the situation where you haven't gone out to tender yet.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair, I was just going to sort of support what Steve's just said there too. So, I mean, we'll be heading in, it normally takes a good 6-week period for a tender process, sometimes up to 8 weeks. I mean, a tender of this side, we'd probably have it out for submissions for 3 to 4 weeks, allow 2 weeks for evaluations, then 2 weeks to write the reports, and depending on the outcome of the submissions, whether or not we have to come to council before we can award. We're heading into the perfect time of year to do the construction, so it's like our civil construction season. But if the project isn't finished by Christmas, which to be fair, I'd say it's possible it wouldn't be, with me just talking through those timelines to you, we do have to shut it down with, we have a close down period with the NZTA that you have to reopen the state highways anyway, over that summer period.
So Donna, if I have a look on page 48 of the agenda, it's got the program timeline. We're talking about a 6-week practical completion period on line 25, as you were line 24. And then as I look up, I see we're at currently today presenting the final design and engineer's estimate for council approval. So that's not happening today. When is that likely to happen?
So through you, the Chair, so we've got the final design, that's what John was just stating, and because it's coming in with what the budgets are,
Yep.
the engineer's estimates are close to what we have for budgeting, we now go out to tender. So we would only be requiring to come to council for approval if it looks like the submissions, when they've come in, are exceeding the budgets. So we'd still continue our process in the background operationally.
And you're comfortable otherwise with the timelines?
Yes, subject to weather. Subject. Yes.
Other questions, comments, observations? Councillor Volweiler?
Just, I'm presuming that there'll be still, despite having the documents, the investigations done, there'll still be a lot of unknowns in this until you actually get in and start.
That's right.
Digging.
We've done a lot of potholing, investigation, but there's still a lot of unknowns. Yes, there's also other utility services underground.
So there'll have to be a reasonably large contingency.
That's right.
Built in. And there was the hope there that you wouldn't have to go down to 3.5 meters, but
That's
it was
right.
as though from the report you were going to.
Unfortunately, we still have to go down 3.5 meters. But we're
But
trying our best to move away from the alignment of the existing line just to avoid encountering any contaminated soils.
right, so keep away from that. As you work further down from north to south, how much shallower can the trenching go? It's going to have to basically be sort of 3.5 meters.
Yeah,
away.
around 3 and 3.5. Because the system is gravitating from north to south.
So there isn't a lot of floor going down.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. Have to be the minimum 4.
Thanks, John. Other questions? No? Thank you both very much. Now Mount Cooey on page 52.
Same report, councillor, but
Sorry, yeah, no,
we can still do questions.
Questions on streetscaping, councillor Graham?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. See, you're working on appointing a contract administrator and an independent certifier. What does an independent certifier do?
Through your chair, according to the new NZ 3910 contract, there is no longer an engineer to the contract role. It's now split into 2 roles. The first role is the contract administrator, which pretty much takes over monitoring activities on site and reporting on quality issues, while the independent certifiers looks at certifying the payments or any disputes between the employer and the contractor. So it's basically the same role of the engineer is split into 2.
Right, okay.
Excuse me. To you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I was just wondering if you had a time frame for those additional prices that we talked about at the last meeting.
Through your chair, we scheduled the kickoff meeting next Monday, and our plan is once we get the contract signed and issue all the construction drawings, we will have time to work with the contractor on getting the estimate. Right now, the contractor is focusing on getting the traffic management plan, the site safety plans, and all the things required to start working on site. And after that, probably early next month, he will start working on getting prices for those features.
Thank you. Other questions? No, everyone's happy? Thank you. Right, Mount Cooey, page 52.
Again, I take that the report is read, and if you have any questions.
Other questions? Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, I'm only hearing this sort of off-site, quite timely that Sooners is out there, but I'm hearing that Sooners are the biggest skip outfit in the district. And then you combine that with that, and I'm unsure whether it's Andrew Haulage or Calder Stewart, but the new way bridge tipping over into the gully up by Ken's place. And I don't know whether they're opening that up for all the builders place. But as we're analysing what we're going to do and the needs for Mount Cooey moving forward, what does it mean if Sooners is now taking this stuff outside the district? What percentage is the Calder Stewart Andrews Haulage Sooners and the overall that's going into the dump? Because it's changing by the moment.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we've actually got a workshop coming up next week where it's public excluded because it's commercially sensitive. 2 weeks time, sorry. And that will all be discussed at that time to give visibility.
And I can assure you, we're having discussions with Sooners and our major waste producers as well.
Excellent. And so do we actually know what's going into that weighbridge?
We understand it's a clean fill site, so it can't accept builders' waste, but it can accept clean fill.
No.
I mean, that's the material that's not currently coming into Mount Cooey because we've been charging for it. However, we actually need some more of the virgin material, not builders' waste. So we may be accepting that for free at Mount Cooey for a period of time by negotiation with individual customers or builders or contractors.
Cheers.
Any other questions? We're comfortable with capacity through to August of next year?
Through your chair, yes, the last survey we had last June showed that we still have around 15 months worth of capacity on the landfill, which gives us until next October 2026. But we will be updating, I think, every 6 months. We do the survey and update the capacity of the landfill.
Thank you. Right, thank you for that. Donna, community call.
Morning, everybody. So, thank you to Councillor Herbert. He did identify and rang me on the risk and issues log. So, apologies. I was at home sick with a viral infection. I wasn't allowed to come into the office because I was contagious. And rightly or wrongly, I was trying to finish my report and I'd left off a sentence. So, however, the good news is item 2 on the risk and issues log, which is the item in question, it's actually already closed. So there's nothing to discuss here because that risk has been completely mitigated and closed off. So update, hope you've read the report, take the report as read. We are currently waiting on the 90% detailed design costings from Calder Stewart. We hope to have those to us by the end of the first week of August. And that's pretty much where the project is currently sitting. Oh, one good news though, that the contaminated soil consent has been approved through ORC. And as of today, we're just waiting on CDC's approval for the contaminated soil consent. And we've also submitted our construction consent to the ORC as well. So, any other questions?
Thanks, Donna. Just reflecting earlier in the meeting today, we had a conversation about the role of council or each council for their community. I realise the projects in this report add up to $48 million that we're currently delivering for our community. Quite significant. Questions of Donna? Councillor McAtamaney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned the 90% contract detail. What does that mean?
So through the chair, so what happens is, if you recall, we were showing you what we call the concept design, which we went out for special consultation and got the approval to proceed from there. And from there, we now get the detailed design where it's the nuts and bolts. It's crossing the T's, dotting the I's to get all the costs in associated and talking with their operational departments on their operational needs and requirements to make sure that we're doing the building fit for purpose. So we've nailed down the full detailed design from the operational needs and the needs level of service for our community. Calder Stewart had provided us a rough estimate where they'd received in sort of 60% of costings from subcontractors. They're now finalising going out to I believe they're doing a tender process where they're getting all the costings in, and they're hoping by the end of the first week in August, they'll be able to present that information to us so we can assess to see whether or not the costings are coming in on budget, whether we need to have discussions of potential scoping amendments.
Yeah, it's just that, why you call it a 90%, like, what does that mean to get to 100%?
So by the end of the first week in August, Calder Stewart, the way they're doing their tenders with their subcontractors, they're hoping to have 90% of those tenders come in by then.
So just to confirm, that's what Calder Stewart called it.
Yes.
We're just relaying what they've said.
That's cool.
So that begs the question in time, it will be 100%.
Absolutely, it will be, yes.
Just a timing thing. Yeah, thank you.
Right, we go back to page 38. There's a recommendation that we receive the capital projects report. Moved Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Finch. All in favour?
Aye.
And carried. Thanks, Donna and Tony.
Yeah.
Right, we go to page 67, which is the update of the conflicts register. And just checking for accuracy, is everybody comfortable that their respective interests are accurately identified? If we do we have a mover? Councillor Finch. Councillor Herbert seconded. All in favour?
Aye.
Next, we move to page 75, Protozoa report.
I'm here to present the protozoan bacterial report and take any questions to the chair if you have any.
So just go back to the comment or the question I raised before. So when the water scheme is commissioned, Lawrence will no longer be non-compliant.
Well, Lawrence, I'll reply directly to you. Lawrence is generally compliant. We've had some issues this month, but Lawrence is currently compliant. Well, it's been compliant for quite some time.
Yeah.
That's the other concern.
And there are some other ones there. So my only comment is to say, and there's a number of notes here about upgrades required. If we can just expand on those in future reports, identifying the planned upgrade and the time frame for those.
Which supplies specifically are you referring to?
So I'm having a look at page 80 is my first one, Topeka West. It says significant upgrades are required to maintain.
Well, Topeka West is a very, very rudimentary scheme.
Yeah.
It's water in, chlorine and done.
Yeah.
So that will be part of the new Balmoral Topeka scheme.
Okay. Go to page 81, Moa Flat. We talk about something that started in late March. When is completion likely?
Completion for that one will also be to do with what's happening in North Bruce.
Yeah. So we can just note those in future.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, it's worth it to have a quick conversation. Is that North Bruce and Moa Flat are two that has been long-standing issues for us to try and achieve compliance, and reasonably confident that we're on the path for North Bruce with solutions that have been put in place. Isn't that right, Linda? That we are producing compliant water now. We just haven't yet. We want to assure ourselves before we take the step of actually lifting a boil water notice that we can continue to provide compliant water, so we don't have any ups and downs of notices and not notices. So when we lift the notice, we want to be confident that it's a long-term solution and we've done the right thing. But we can say that we're reasonably confident at this point because it's producing compliant water and has been for some time, and we are working our way to get to that point. And equally, then we believe the solution may apply to Moa Flat, and so we are looking to be able to move in that direction too. So it's been a long time where there haven't been solutions that have necessarily produced results. We're in a current situation here with whatever solutions that have finally been put in are producing results, at least at North Bruce at this point. So that is progress. Or the other ones are the ones that are going to be combined in the new scheme. But these are two that had to have work done on to be able to make some, to get us to where we need to be. And it'll be a big day when we can lift both those notices, and at least we've got some positive news that we're heading in the right direction.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. You'll miss me when I'm gone, Daniel. Hey, so mine's touching on that subject. Mine was probably more of a practical question, and I do read with great interest that there's been a modification to the clarifier at North Bruce, not actually the change of clarifier, but a modification. And so, is the modification? You might not be able to answer this, but hopefully someone can. Are we talking tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or what's involved in this? If it's working if we're highly confident, we just heard that it's going to work for North Bruce, and it might hopefully work for Moa Flat. I'm just trying to get a gauge of what's involved in the modification, because all it tells me is the modification. Really
Some are more familiar with the money side of things.
What that modification, it just says it's going to change the inlet. So.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is tens of thousands cost on us, and Philtech are picking up the majority of the cost as part of their desire to become compliant so they can get the retentions released. So we're putting in some streaming current meters which help us with dosing. There's a cost around those, and most of the cost has been picked up by Philtech.
So it's not a matter of actually replacing the clarifier or something else, it's just changing the way. That's all, thank you.
Yeah, I don't understand the technical part, but I've seen some pictures of some big pipes that change where they're connecting and stuff. That's about my technical level.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Any other questions of Daniel? No? Yes? No? The answer is no. Thanks, Daniel. Recommendation is on page 75. Moved Councillor Herbert, seconded Councillor Ludeman. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Linda, welcome back.
Thank you. Just presenting the financial report for Three Waters, the 11-month report, and happy to take questions.
Definitely, isn't it? No questions this month? So, looking at page 84, Linda, the projection for end of year, you comfortable that that's fairly represented?
I guess there's some project things and stuff in those numbers, but I think from the operating point of view, we've obviously got another month of this, the 11th month report, so another month to run. So we will be exceeding our budgeted deficit. It'll just be quantum.
So I guess the big conversation piece is not so much what's on the page, but what might happen in the future in terms of the Southern Water exercise when that goes through the next stages, what impact we have on our balance sheet. Operational side, the one thing that we note is internal overheads or stranded overheads that we might need to consider how they're going to be best placed going forward.
So that work hasn't been done yet.
No.
That's got to be done. But I will also just check, Liz, that we've reported previously that this, the specific overspend is subsumed into the total organisational viewpoint, and you'll see the total viewpoint of that one, and there's savings in other places as well. So we've reduced the overall deficit in that sense because of that. We always knew there was still going to be some existing overspends in the Three Waters area because of we still hadn't fully aligned the budgets to that. We took a decision to reduce the planned maintenance related activity to offset some of that. So there's been some, decisions for offsets. We didn't just go and spend everything and then allow that operational over expenditure to occur without having some offsets. And the main question for Linda would be, moving forward for this particular year, are we much more aligned, Linda, in terms of the Three Waters activity operations budgets to, we've got the contracts nailed now, haven't we? Because we didn't have that before. We've signed them up, so we've locked those in. We know how those things are being spent. We know what our operations are like, a lot more than what we were. You've made some refinements about bits and pieces. The budget that we've put forward for this particular year, are we able to go, hey, you should be able to sort of manage and be responsible for this year's activity far more than we've been able to do in the previous 2 or 3 years?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's certainly what we're hopeful of. It's certainly more reflective of where we've been tracking. The unknown piece of always is what repairs are going to crop up. Reactive work can tip things over, but the other costs certainly should be much better provided for.
Thank you. Any other questions or observations, Councillor Tammany?
So just, thank you. So just on that deficit, we're tracking at minus 600 for the year for the month end of May. You said it may, is it going to change? Where do you think it might be sitting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I haven't looked at the number, but I can only imagine that we've got a month's cost to come.
Yeah, so you're probably under 700,000.
Yeah, and no rates revenue, then that will be.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so say about a 700,000 loss, sort of. About where we'll be done.
Which is a significant improvement on last year, isn't it?
About 7 million last year.
Yeah.
But also we've got that debt to offset the rates cost.
True. Other questions or observations? No? Go to the recommendation on page 83 to receive the report. We have moved Councillor Bolwheeler, seconded Councillor Finch. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Right, financial reports on page 87. Trey, welcome.
Kia ora, everyone. This time, probably just highlight that this report's a wee bit different to the previous few ones. There's no cash flow report this time, just because we've not had any of the budget holder meetings and moving to a new financial year and whatnot. So hopefully for the next meeting we'll have that, but I'm not 100% sure yet with moving to the new system. We've got quite a lot of work on at the moment. But outside of that, so it's the actual management reports to the end of May with the June prediction added. So that was prediction done in, I think it was April. So potentially it might be a wee bit outdated, but that's what we have. So happy to take any questions.
So the main observation is the deficit number, which has been exacerbated by the significant increase in depreciation on roading. Now, I know the answer to the question, but just for the public record, can you remind everybody how much of our depreciation we actually fund?
Don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I believe it's less than 20% anyway, I think, for roading. I think it's below 20%, but I can't Can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I can give you that, but I just have to look it up.
Sorry, I mean, you might correct me if I'm wrong, Trey, but through you, Mr. Chairman, my understanding is we only fund our share of bridge depreciation in terms of cash funding. The rest of it, our argument is in the past has been, we actually spend the capital each year, so we don't have to fund the depreciation because we're actually spending the capital. Now that assumption may need to be rechecked with the revaluation, but that it's not that we don't spend the money on our roading, it's that we are actually spending it each year on an ongoing basis on reseals and all those things, area-wide pavement treatment, that sort of work. So it's being funded, cash funded each year because we're doing the work we need to do in terms of capital replacement.
Yeah, and in that comment today, I've got that the funded depreciation is about 3.4 million of the total of the $17 million budget. So it's not a particularly high percentage.
3.4 million.
3.4, yeah.
Of the 28 million expected depreciation.
Of the 17 million budget?
Yeah, but,
So
but it's actually 28 now, but it's still, the cash portion is still only.
Yeah, the cash flow is still only 3.4.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Of, the 28 number.
We're getting very, very close to break even with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that was the point I was trying to get onto the table.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I mean, and also, if you take the roading budget later side of the 3-year program, that again, we seem to be just underneath in year one. So we're not spending what it is that not receiving as much because we're not spending as much. If you look at the grant subsidies reflection, there's a chunk there too. So we're underdoing that a little bit. That also is a reasonable contributor, and the rest of them seem to be unders and overs around things. So
Yeah, and the majority of that grants and subsidies figure of 3.3 mil is roading work that's not being done, isn't it?
Yep. Through you, Mr. Chairman, there is an outstanding item that we do need to deal with at the end of the year wash up, is that we had emergency works funding for roading of we actually had $1.4 million approved, and we said at the time we need to consider how we fund our share of that, and that will need to be considered in the end of the year wash up as well, which we wouldn't normally fund that out of rates funding. That would come out of deferred maintenance or the emergency fund. So there is still a funding decision for council to make on our share of that 1.4 million, which we haven't spent all this year.
Councillor Nakatani.
We're going to go again.
Yes, you are.
So just on that roading grants, so I can see it might be in this notes or the other ones. It's not a regular, comes in at irregular times, does it? You said you applied for May and June.
We do a roading claim at the end of most months.
Yeah.
And then you get it, I think it's 3 weeks afterwards. So normally I would do it as soon as we've got all the contracts in around the 25th, 26th, and we get it by about the 12th.
Because I think there was a comment that it was May and June together.
Yep.
Coming in.
Because of the NZTA's timetable at the end of the year, they require you to put your final claim in by the 12th of July. So if we did a May claim, the 3 weeks would be after you put your final claim in, so you wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, but we budgeted for it in this year, but the payment might actually come in July.
Yeah, the actual money received, we received in July, but we'll put it back in the SOCRA for the annual report into June.
Yeah, but still budgeted.
Yes.
Yeah. I got you. Councillor Kennedy.
Through you, Chair. Trey, on page 89, what are we? Note F. The Wish Target Vintage Club, 133k still to be paid.
Yep.
So have they not picked up their money?
I would have to check with Lily. Part of that grant has been paid, but not all of it. I think they have to, it's not apply for it every 3 months, but they have to do some form of paperwork and ask for the money again. I'm not exactly sure on the process, but Lily would be able to comment on that. But I can find that out for you if you'd like.
Oh, well, yeah, I could flick her an email to see what's going on.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe they have to invoice, and maybe they've just not sent the recent invoices. Might be something along those lines.
If it was anything past in the annual plan, we're not allowed to invoice until 1st of July. So, which means if you receive something through the annual plan, you're allowed to invoice it from the 1st of July, which will be 20th of August, I guess, before it's paid, if you've submitted to council. Yeah, that I'm picking as similar to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions of trade? If not, recommendation on page 87 to receive the reforecast statement. Moved Councillor Herbert, seconded Councillor Ludeman. All in favour?
Aye.
We go to page number 90. Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Morning, everybody. Treasury Management Debt Report. So at 30 June, amount of borrowings was 144.8 million. So that didn't actually change since the 31st of May last time. Just got the updated cost of funds on page 91. So as you can see, it's as of 30 June, 4.34%. So still a downward trend here each month. And yes, have the breakdowns by activity area on the next two pages. So as part of our annual reporting process, we'll be working through each of the management reports for each of the activity units and working out funding based on that. So we'll be able to have a final position as part of our annual report process as to the breakdown. Apart from that, I'm okay to take as read. Happy to take any questions or discussion.
Greg, can you just remind the meeting, what is the cost of debt that we've got in our 25-26 budget? 4.1. So it's still, we're tracking down, we're at 4.3 at the moment, we're tracking downwards. So 4.1 is pretty much on the mark, isn't it? Yep. Other questions of Greg?
Just a comment.
Councillor Ludeman.
Just a comment more. I thought it was a good breakdown of our costings there of economic development, community services, internal services. I found that useful, and probably at some time will be good conversation to be had, Chris. But yeah, might be the right time, but I do see some costings there.
In respect to repaying that debt?
I just see the cost of, well, I'll raise one, the eyesight in this world now is it absolutely important to have the eyesight branding, basically, at a cost of 80,000.
Sure.
So that's just one. I just found it very interesting the way they were highlighted, and I know lots of councils have gone away from having eyesight, still have your service centres and stuff. So I just question the benefit in today's world where people use everything via the internet and that.
Yeah.
That the service centre could probably do and be saving 80,000. Just a comment.
Thank you, Councillor McAtamaney.
But isn't that debt already borrowed?
It's already borrowed.
I mean, it's just a comment for future planning, really. It's there, you can't do anything about it, but it's highlighting what it's costing us.
Sorry, Greg, just to confirm, that's $80,000 of debt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, debt.
Yeah.
Not the cost of the
Not
eyesight.
the cost,
Like,
sorry.
You would have to find out, Mr. Chairman, what the 80,000 was spent on.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it might have been a branding exercise that ended up being a
Sorry.
capital project, but for some reason, some time ago, whatever it was.
Debt for that.
Was it fit out of furniture?
Yeah,
Maybe, okay, so that's a little bit different.
Some capital relocation.
But nonetheless, the point is that we still at some stage need to have
I
a
just
chat
think it's
about
still a
this. Yeah.
conversation.
It's okay. Other questions, Councillor McAtamaney?
Yeah, so just further on those internal services, there's water ops debt of 8 million and then water management debt of 1 million. I assume both of those sums will be pulled into the new water company.
I would think that is a correct assumption, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm getting nods from the back of the room.
And to be fair, Councillor, the 9 million, whilst it's recorded as internal services, you really shouldn't be just lumping it with big green
Yeah.
chunk of the pie graph that relates to.
Reallocate it to.
Yeah, and the water ops, the 8 million water ops is the loans to offset the water rates. Is that correct?
It's the difference between the cost of operations and the budget. So this is part of the big deficits that we had
Over the last 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's what, yeah, so the debt to offset the rates, yeah.
No, so to offset it's the issue where we've had the situation where, as we've seen, the budget didn't keep up with the transition in and the cost of operations, and so if the budget doesn't equip with that, then you know that the rates that you're receiving isn't enough, right?
Yeah.
So we've had to get debt for it, and the debt for that.
Yeah, that's the money, instead of putting the rates up, that's the money that we borrowed. Is that line. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Other questions of Greg, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a bit missing here, Greg, in the report, and it's either you or Trey. Constant, like this morning I got asked by Radio New Zealand, how much you spend on core in your rates? And I know core increase was over 80%, then core overall spend is a totally different figure. Are we able to align Minister Bishop's announcement last week with what we are spending so that we can say with some assurance we're spending 74.8% of rates is going to the core services as said by the Minister? Because it's a figure I'm constantly getting hit up on. I look at this and I've got 65 and then I tried to message community services and I'm not up to 80 and I wouldn't have a blooming clue. So it's just so topical and we get pounded all the time. Could we get Minister Bishop's definition of core services aligned with this so that we can get a percentage with some?
So there's two different things, Your Worship. One would be how much debt is associated with that particular definition, and then separately with that is how much is the cost of the activities to provide it. That's just a debt program, right?
Yeah.
But then I'll just need to work with the team and take what that bill has described, which still gives some leeway, like it has a descriptor that says libraries, well, that's easy, but it says recreational facilities. Well, okay, we'll have to make some determination of what's recreational facilities in that sense to be able to do what you're saying. But we would just need to do that, and once we've made a call on what that is, then it's easy enough in our systems to be able to say, well, we just give accounting a list of the activities that relate to that. They can come up with the information, both in debt and in costs for what you're saying. But we just have to take it.
Because like it was only yesterday, you and I were talking about it, and then today, and you go, you say a figure and you've got to put your hat on it. Actually, I know the increase, core services for the increase.
As a team, Your Worship, we will go away and do a little bit of homework because it is going to be topical.
No, it's not going away.
We'll take the definition in the bill and we'll apply it to our accounts and we'll come up with our view of what's within that definition, and then we can come back with some information. In fact, it would be a subject of a further report,
Highly topical discussion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Ludeman.
One good question around the Rosebank milk purchase, the debt there. I just thought that the sale of the various pieces of land up there would have come off that debt. Like, where did the sale proceeds go to really be still showing that debt? Yeah.
Well, it hasn't closed out yet.
Right.
So when we need to do our final accounts, don't we? We've got it's still an open account because there's still a couple of sections there.
Okay. So
and then we'll close it out, and then we'll know there'll be a loss of some form because we knew that in the first place. And then once it happens, it'll come off the books. Or it might stay on. The loss might stay on, unless you know it. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Maketamini.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment. I'm probably a bit more relaxed than the Mayor around that question of what percentages, because those things that we discussed earlier on are going to be included as core services for the council, I would say that we'd be in the late 90s, percentage-wise, straight out.
I almost did say that on Radio New Zealand today, but I didn't, because you're gonna.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to know what the actual figure is.
I would go out there and argue that. I mean, that's.
I've been saying 92, and Steve actually said best we pull back on that.
We'll just say in the 90s.
But it's not. Well, okay, cover it.
No, it will be.
It's a big number.
Big number. I just want to know what it does.
So yes, we should be able to get a definition, throw it against the accounts, and it is important, and it's something that you should be aware of. We can do that, because now, previously we didn't have anything, right? We didn't have anything definitive. The bill says something. We can now apply that bill to something and come up with figures.
Don't work too hard on it, because it will be.
It'll be a big number, but it'll be highly tolerable.
You just be talking.
Yeah, we need it.
The debate will be over a few billboards on the edge of truth or something.
It's all there. It's not a big
Yeah.
issue. It's just with some backing to be able to say a figure, because we will get sizzle. They certainly knew what our rates increase was.
Other questions? If not, mover for the recommendation on page 90 is councillor Finch. Seconder is councillor Herbert. All in favour?
Aye.
And the last item before we take a break is Greg's Treasury report on page 94.
Mr. Chair, so during June, we had a 261k unrealised gain, and the distributions reinvested, which comes out quarterly, 176k. So there was a total increase of 137k during June, so another good month.
Good news report. Any questions, comments or observations? If not, move councillor Kennedy, seconded councillor Payne. All in favour?
Aye.
And with that, we will break for morning tea and reconvene at 11:25.
What's going on in the room?
Yeah. Okay, so hang on, just before we leave the table, we're moving into public excluded for the next part, so that's move councillor Kennedy, seconded councillor Ludeman. All in favour? Carried.